Hello, these are the 6.07 Valorant patch notes. This is my first video back from COVID, and also my first video looking at bind changes. So we're going to go for the bind changes. So first things first is general updates with the UI indicators. They're a bit ugly, but I'll get used to them eventually. Don't think they really need to change this, but fair enough. I guess they wanted to change it. They wanted to change it. Reyna has been indicated to be removed, while KO got one added to his fragments, and the Seekers on bottom trademark also had them removed. Their indicators removed. So I think this doesn't really matter for most of the abilities here. It's just I think Leah sometimes has sometimes you want the indicator, but like I think it's happens so rarely that you need the indicator to know where it is that I don't think this matters. Especially because the ability is so late anyway. And Sky Seekers, sometimes the indicator would show up before you could even hear the Seekers sometimes. And also the Seekers are invisible while traveling through the map for enemies. So sometimes if in like big enough spaces, it could still be invisible, and then the indicator would show while it's still invisible and you can't hear it. But I think that might have been a bug, to be fair, thinking about it. So they just like removed the indicators. And that would also only happen on Breeze, really. And I think there's some other open places where that would happen. But it happens so rarely that this would matter. So there you go. Don't think any of this really matters that much. The Sova Recon Bolt has been updated to correctly appear when playing with Bloom. It's a bug, basically. Scanning VFX has been updated to be more visible as it travels through the world. So this could help, like, some players or some teams, because I've seen some pro players do this in pro matches as well, where they don't quite know where the scan is. It seems like they go a bit too early back into the Sova darts radius. So this might help some players just like visually know, have a bit more, just know better, basically, or just like recognize when they can go back into that area a bit easier. I play Sova, so it doesn't really matter to me because I always looked out for it most of the time. So model has been increased to more accurately represent its hitbox. So this does not change its hitbox, and it does not change its collision or anything. It's not really a nerf. The only situation that Sova gets nerfed here is if you were at an angle where you couldn't see the Sova dart normally, but you could see the hitbox of like the old Sova dart, right? You can see the hitbox, but you couldn't see the model, so you thought you couldn't shoot it. But now that can't happen, right? Because the hitbox matches the visual. So then you don't get tricked into thinking you can't shoot it at whatever angle. But that angle is probably so unlikely, and this probably doesn't happen very often that that really matters. Or you can see it's like a sizable nerf to Sova. So I wouldn't say it's like these are massive nerfs to Sova or anything. I wouldn't say these are really even nerfs. They're like very, very slight, and I don't think they're gonna even matter like down the line if he gets nerfed more or something, or even if he gets buffed. Yeah, I don't think it really matters. So we're gonna look at the bind updates now. So the teleport has been added to outside Bath. So this means that fast rotations. Sorry, it means that fast rotations from B teleport from B long to A are going to be just going to be slightly faster, basically, is what I mean to say. There's going to be a slightly faster. I'm not sure exactly how much faster, like 2 or 3 seconds faster. Which at the highest ranks of play, not ranks of play, but highest like competitive pro teams, this could matter because they could push strategies to the absolute wire, and so they could like do a last minute rotate that wasn't possible on the previous teleporter. And I think this could happen in ranked as well, obviously, but it'd be probably less planned than this. But I can imagine it having like a tangible effect on strategy. As a whole, the bind changes can, at least. As opposed to the split changes, I think the split changes didn't really have a massive change in strategy, and I think that's the reason why generally they're not very well received. The split changes is because it didn't really change anything about the map. You still play the map the same. It's just that some of the angles are a bit more favorable. You can also take tower on A a bit easier, and that sort of like impacted some strategy. So there's that, I guess. But I think bind overall like changes strategy a lot more than the split changes did. And then we've got the removal of this box here from the teleporter, obviously the removal of the teleporter as well. So the reason why this is actually quite a big change is that now the attackers are committed to the fight when they fight this shower fight. When they fight the shower fight, the attackers are committed to it because they can't find very easy cover. They can't run away as easily. So the defenders tend to have a bit more control of this area now. And you can also see that with the teleporter as well, is that they can teleport and like reinforce this area rather than reserving that sort of play before. Like with this old teleporter here, defenders would use this teleporter to try and take control of some space here, or like cohesively with their showers players. They would like push showers and they would push the teleporter and try and take a large amount of space. But now I can imagine this is going to be slightly different, right? Because the defenders teleport through the B long TP, don't have as much control when they TP initially, because then the defenders, the attackers can still sit in this area with this old TP, or sorry, with this new TP. They can sit in this old area now, and they won't feel as threatened by this TP, as the old one was threatening a lot of space from the TP, so they had to take cover. They couldn't turn their back to the TP in a lot of this space. So I think overall, like, they've made showers a lot harder to like take potentially, especially for ranked, I would say, because it's a lot more aim dueled here, and that you need proper util now, I think, to take this space, especially if their defending team is active with TPs. If they play like Yoru, for instance, then Yoru can always TP back to B as well. So, or like TP out of the TP, or TP out of the, that's so confusing. TP out of the teleporter or the portal. So he doesn't really care too much about teleporting initially at the start of the round to help reinforce showers. The doorway from A lobby into A bath has been widened, so both these corners now are unsafe. Even this corner here, you're actually visible from outside without even seeing anyone as well, so they can shoot you while you can't see them. So these two corners are not possible. This is also a diagonal corner here, so that you can't even tuck in this corner, which is also strategic, right? Because the wall is right here from the outside. So if this wasn't here, these carpets, you'd be able to tuck and they wouldn't be able to see you. So I'm assuming they just don't want anyone to be sitting in these corners, and I kind of like that as well. That choice. This has also been made shallower as well. So I think in general, like these shower angles, these close ones, aren't particularly good. But you technically do have like, I mean, you don't really have better fight because there's still two elevations, and it's still hard. I mean, technically there's three if you count the box, and it's still a hard fight for the defenders. But generally, like, you have the opportunity to reinforce this area better and to push them out of this area better with the teleporter being closer, and in general, this doorway being wider. But on the flip side as well, this means that attackers can get into this area easier as well. You can't just like molly them off all the time because you have to be putting the molly like fairly central in the doorway. If you put it outside, then they may have to jump around and sit in a corner and hit you off, like kill you in an off angle or something. So that's like a thing, but these doors being wider is that you need mollies to be a bit more precise as well. Because otherwise, if you leave like a corner exposed, then they can jump around it and take minimal damage. So and also more players can just come through as well, so it's a lot easier to trade. So doorway A bath to A site has been widened. Same thing, what I just explained. You need your mollies to be a bit more precise. In this area, it might not matter too much because it's not really great. Like you can put it kind of here, and they can't really jump here because they can't really jump anywhere because of the wall and the box. So maybe here isn't exactly the same. Isn't too precise, but here you can see like if you're not too precise, they can sort of jump in this corner or jump in this corner, and then they may be able to even jump over like a thin part of the molly to get into shows. Obviously, this would all be like you can always hear all that stuff, so maybe not exactly the best of plays. But basically, this helps like not getting spammed through a smoke as well, because there's more area for the enemy to spam, for the attackers, or sorry, the defenders to spam when the attackers have to run out. So yeah, generally better changes for attack side mainly right now. Apart from, I think this is actually just better for defense, the teleported location, early on in the round. But I think when he gets to late round and as the round moves on, this starts to get better for attackers, and rotating to A and things like that starts to speed up their rotations. So I think this is actually quite interesting. Now that like I feel like this teleport is interesting because it serves good purpose for both teams in different portions of the round. So I actually think it's actually really cool now that the teleporters feel a bit more I don't know, just feel a bit more nuanced now than they were, because it felt like they were just basically just a replacement to mid, because Bind doesn't have a mid, so they use the teleporters as a replacement, right, as rotations to like what would be a mid, if that makes sense, and they can replace and they can even use that to like make it so you can go from one end of the map to the other, and obviously a traditional mid you can't do that, so it's pretty crazy. Like I feel like it's getting better and better now, the way that they're implementing the teleporters. So I'm happy with the bind changes so far. And I'm happy with the bind changes as a whole. Just as spoiler alert, I like all the bind changes. So the next one is Radiant Knight crates on A side have been adjusted. So basically they've just laid this one down, or like turned it on its side. They've also raised it slightly. I think this is because of the stairs, the elevation here. You can probably see over the box slightly. They also probably made it so I think you can crouch in this, like next to this barrel, and still see on top of the box in a main. So they have like implemented like not three, but like two different angles on for this barrel. That also like impacted. There's two different angles here, two different elevations that you can peek over this barrel with. Not barrel, over this box with. Oh my god, I can't speak. I think no, I don't know. But I do like the box that it's like two boxes. I like that it's two boxes out as well instead of just one, because it'd be really spammable like the old one. So this is less spammable now because obviously they can plant in like a multitude of different angles. So I do really like the changes here. I like the barrel as well. So I think this actually gives defenders more options when defending main. Which is nice. I used to play this angle decently frequently when I was playing Fade. So I do like the changes to these angles. I also think it's really good for attackers as well when they're in retake, because the attackers can sit on top of this box and have a good angle on heaven. That angle's going to take some getting used to. If you don't actually it's going to take some getting used to. Back wall on A side has been adjusted, so this is like a buff to like raise. You'll see a lot of raises used to blast pack in this area, and it's a buff to a raise because the raise rocket will more likely be like there's less chance for them to dodge it because there's less open area. Then with like raise nade, brim, ult, brim, molly, all the mollies just have like a chance of having impact here. There's also like less areas to tuck, so even though they got this angle, like attackers for or like the defenders of a retake, so the attackers would have this for a retake, this angle on heaven. They've also lost this angle, this angle they could tuck into for the retake for CT. There's also lost this corner, but I can't remember a really good use for this corner. Maybe some lineups. I think maybe I had like a fade lineup or two from here, so may have to look at my lineups again and change some things. So defender spawn, the B side doorway has been widened. So this makes things easier for defenders to retake the site, because it has been it's always been pretty hard for defenders to retake from this area. It's impossible to get through this small doorway most of the time, so making it a bit wider is better. I would have liked them to see it open up a bit more. I just don't know how they would really do it. I do think this vent is a step in the right direction for it, but maybe if they would have just made, maybe even just making this doorway twice as big as it is now, even like the big wide doorway, making it even bigger. But then, as you know, they can't really do that because of smokes, right? So they would have to like implement like maybe a window or something, or like a breakable thing. I don't even know. They can't really have breakable things on Bind, I don't think. I think it'd be too many gimmicks in one place. I do think this is a step in the right direction for retaking B. Maybe, but I haven't really played it yet on competitive. No one has played it like live servers competitive, with these changes. So I'll just have to see how it plays. I think. So utility window has been added to B site into B hall. So these changes are good. This change is really good. I really like this change. I used to play Sova in this sort of area in the elbow. And it gave me, this is probably going to give, well, I've already like kind of messed around with it a tiny bit, but I'm pretty sure it's going to give me an option to have a lineup for A at the same time as being elbow, which is a lot more safety than it is to be like backside and B. Especially if you usually play against like arrays and things, then you would get like naded, you would get fade seized, then you would get like blast packed on top of and that sort of stuff. So it's a lot easier for like a Sova, for instance, to, because Sova doesn't have much stopping power himself. So it's a lot safer for him to like sit in elbow, and play like, for like his ones here, or just play safer in general. Play off recon, play off shocks, play off ult even. If you have a teammate with you, so you have like a lot more options now. As the player from elbow, if you have like the util to use it, so like Gecko or something, as well could send Dizzy through. Sky can send flashes through. KO can send flashes through. Anyone with good util or any util, like flashes and things, can send through things through here. Also, post plant wise as well, may see some new plants, or we may see lineups for current plants, with the window. So like Brim Molly, like Brim sitting in this corner, can Molly bounce it off the edge of this, and it lands like default. I can see that happening as well. That could definitely bolster the retake for attackers. So I am a bit concerned about that sometimes. But that's like 1v1, 2v1, 1v2 sort of like potential, like sort of territory though, where Brim would be mollying from this angle, probably. So like 1v1-ish. Very 1v1, like in what I remember anyway. So overall, I do like the bind changes. I have to see how they play. But I do like that this actually changed strategy a lot more than the split ones did. I feel like this map actually plays differently than it used to, as opposed to split, which plays exactly the same basically. Maybe you can take terror a tiny bit more than you used to, on A, overall. Like, so I do like the bind changes as it actually changes the strategy. Player behavior updates. This is like Q dodging. I dodge like once a week, so not very often I dodge. Generally good changes to punish people that are AFK. Always good changes there. Agents projectile, like teleporting, blue trail, just cleans up the UI a bit. That's basically it. And then we've got gameplay bug updates and things. So this is the biggest one. Is anyone I'll go over? Is that they like some of the TikTok plays you'll see of people defusing then dropping the primary gun, can't happen anymore. That's basically it. I think it didn't really happen very much in like high reload, but it definitely happened in like, I would say like mid elo. Is that anything like like diamond lower than that? Like diamond-ish. Maybe a bit less like plat. That's probably where this was happening the most. So that's basically it. Yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. And I'll see you in my next video.